Welcome to today's episode of the Head of the Race podcast. I'm your host, Maya, and today we are here to talk about stage 7 of La Vuelta, España. Today was one of the stages where I didn't enjoy watching it because I was just so worried about riders because there was a lot of crashes going on today. But still, it's a stage. We get to talk about it. It's a sprint stage, which usually end up being pretty dangerous because of the speed and the chaos that is going on in the peloton. But still, we're here to talk about it. We're here to discuss it. I just finished watching it because I did fall asleep with 40 Ks to go. I did fall asleep. And then I woke up and I kind of did a speed watch of what happened. And then I kind of got to the finish because I wanted to see what happened. But my speed watch ended up me being like extremely nervous and not skipping, but like rewinding a lot of times to see what exactly happened. So my speed watch didn't end up actually being a speed watch. So today's stage started in Utiel and finished in Olivier, which it's a seaside town. So we already knew that there was going to be a lot of wind, and that wind was going to play a big part of how the stage turned out, and it definitely did play a part. You could see, by the way, the riders were, acting, and by how the peloton was acting. So we had a 2-man breakaway, which actually did not really end up nothing really came out of it. It was a 2-rider breakaway with Jose Herrada and Ander Okamika. This is a Polish pronunciation. So it was a 2-man breakaway. Got caught up pretty quickly. Of course, like a peloton is chasing you on a flat stage and there's 2 of you, you're going to get caught up pretty easily if you're not really working hard. And the peloton caught them up, even before the intermediate. So nothing really came out of the breakaway. But of course, go into a breakaway, show yourself, show your team. Great for sponsors, great for noticing you. And when it comes to the jerseys, we had Lenny Martinez in the yellow jersey. We had Caden Gross in the green jersey, which we all know the green jersey, not the green jersey anymore, but in the green jersey, it's like a vomit jersey. It looks kind of like the green is so ugly and I hate it because the green jersey used to be amazing because when during sprint stages, you could actually really see the sprinter, like who was in the green jersey so well. And it was immensely helpful during very chaotic stages. But now just kind of, they get lost in the sauce. Like sometimes I even struggle to see Caden Groves because I feel like this green jersey is so blendable with like the background. I hate it so much. I wish they would come back to the old color. So what can we do about it? Sepulveda in the KOM jersey and Juan Ayuso was in the white jersey, but he is in the white jersey because the leader, Lenny Martinez, is in the red jersey. Remco, who is second in that classification, in the white jersey classification, the under 25 classification, was wearing his Belgian championship jersey. So that is why Juan Ayuso was wearing the white jersey. It's kind of like he's not actually the first in that category, but he's third. But Remco probably prefers to wear that beautiful. Oh my god, that kid is so pretty. Like we were talking about this with my boyfriend today. That kid is so gorgeous. Not only does he have the Belgian colors, he also has the World Championship stripes, and it just accentuates like the fanciness of this kid so much, and I just love it. So that kid is like one of those that I'm kind of like happy he's not in the red jersey because I love his world champion / not world champion but like ex-world champion Belgian champion kit. I just love it so much. It looks so like sharp. So I'm kind of happy he's not in the red jersey anymore and in the white jersey as well because he goes for the championship jersey rather than the white jersey. So before even like the race started, not before the race started, but before the what's the word? Oh my gosh. The realization? No, not the realization. That's a Polish word. Before the basically we saw the race. I'm just gonna say it like this. Geraint Thomas did end up having a tumble. He did fall, which is sad. He has fallen, I think, 2 or 3 times now. I don't know, like he has fallen quite a bit. And also in the crash that happened later on in the stage, I saw a photo of him kind of like on the side of the road with his bike, like him holding his bike, and he ended up losing time. So I think he might have actually crashed twice in one stage, which just seems like the worst thing that can happen to a person. Like you're already beaten up after your one crash and you're just, trying to stay on the bike, nervous. The best way I can explain falling on a bike, because I have fallen on a bike on a pretty, on a pretty high speed a bunch, maybe not a bunch of times, but like 2 times that I fell down majorly on a road bike. Because I have fallen off a mountain bike when I just kind of flew, I was riding down a mountain and I braked too hard too early because I got scared because it was like snowing and it was just not good. And also I'm a big freak out person on a descent, and I braked really like abruptly, and I ended up falling from like my in front of my handlebars, like doing a whole flip. It was horrendous, but actually it wasn't that bad because you might say, oh, you fell down in like the woods with like sticks coming out, you could have been poked or something. I feel like it was one of those crashes when I was least affected. Also, probably because I was wearing a lot of clothes, so it took a lot of the damage from me, because I was like wearing probably pants, some leg warmers, some shirts with like a something over it. I don't remember exactly, but that kind of takes some damage from you. But I've had 2 pretty big crashes on a road bike, and I still have scars from them, like on my legs. I used to have a scar like the whole front of like my is that like the front of the calf, like the front of the bottom part of that. Is that a chin? Is that the chin? I don't know. Whatever. And I fell down pretty badly, and I was like, I had a huge scar there. It kind of healed up now, but I still have something on my knees, and something probably some stripes, some cuts there, like there's still something there. I still have some scars from that. And when you fall from a bike, I'm getting really like explainy with this, but I'm just like trying to tell you why I feel like crashing twice in one day is so horrendous. Is because when you fall down a bike, it's just on a road bike, especially if you're in a group, because both those times happened when I was with people. You get it's the weirdest thing. You have the adrenaline, which kind of causes you to get up really quickly because you're like, I'm fine. But then like your whole body hurts, not even like your legs. Sometimes these guys crash so badly, and I remember I couldn't walk for like 3 days. I was like, that one crash that I had, that I basically scrapped like my whole leg. Oh my god, I couldn't walk for like 3 days. They also know how to fall though. They probably know how to fall a little bit better than like me then, but you get such like shock. You're like adrenaline pumping, you're shaking, and you're trying to, get back on the bike. It's just the weirdest thing. When I was on a triathlon race, also there was a crash that happened on a race with me. And even when you're not the person falling down, but involved in the crash during a race, it's so nerve wracking. Like you just like, you get nervous, and kind of like steam kind of just goes from your body. Like you're deflated, like air just went out of your lungs, of your like body, of your muscles. You just feel so weird. And this is why I get so nervous with crashes, not just because of the physical effect, but because of the mental effect and how it affects how a rider rides during a stage. It's the weirdest thing, but after my own experiences, I have a lot of sympathy for riders falling down, especially. Cycling is just a crazy sport. I also talk about this with my boyfriend today. It's like you have these guys going 60 kilometers per hour at some points, even faster, of course, but let's say 60 kilometers per hour on a flat stage, and they fall from their bike, and they're obligated to get on the bike and finish the stage if they want to keep riding in a race, which is so crazy. I know it's kind of like, yeah, but if it wasn't mandatory to finish races, everybody was just like not do stages because they would be like, yeah, I'm just gonna rest today. I'm, whatever. I'm not gonna do anything. But it's so crazy when you have sports where every single tiny thing that is affecting a player or like athlete, they're off the pitch. They're not doing it anymore. When with cycling, a guy can be bleeding from his face and he's still getting treated. The craziest part of like cycling is when the like medical staff is in a car without a roof, and they're basically treating the riders whilst they're still on the bike. Like they cannot even get 15 minutes of a lift. They have to stay on the bike and they have to like get treated, get something on the wounds whilst they're still riding. And today's stage kind of has me thinking about this, how insane of a sport cycling is, because you just have this crazy expectation kind of on riders. When we also saw Sepp Kuss this year on the tour, the guy was bleeding from his face, blood coming off. He just looked like awful, but he's finishing a freaking like extremely difficult mountain stage. This is the most insane thing with cycling, and I just always seem to have these thoughts, especially during these kind of stages like today. But back to just, the racing of it all. Also, Kim Heider crashed with Geraint Thomas. We saw like a snippet of Geraint kind of, of after the crash. Not the crash itself. I didn't see anything, but I saw like when someone from the team was talking with him, basically, asking him how's his knee, because he was saying something on the audio that he was like complaining about his knee, which also there was some sort of graphing going around on Twitter about how the intermediate sprint looked and how it was just, it was like a hairpin, just crazy stuff. Like, even if I would be watching like F1, because I love F1, I would still be saying like, this is so dangerous for an F1 car. And then you have these guys going on bikes, it's just so crazy. Crash Viejo said in an interview before the stage on Ineos's Twitter that if Ghana has the legs, here for she'll be up there. Which is like, and then Ghana in an interview also said that, I might try and go for the sprint, but I have 2 leaders to protect. Which, do you have 2 leaders to protect? You have a guy who lost a lot of time, and then you have another guy, Aaron Zman, of course, he crashed out, but it was before the stage. So I feel like they should maybe try and go for the stages. I feel like everyone thinks this with like realistically, anyone who wants to see riders not just go for general classification, but also for some sort of, spicing up the stages, kind of going for something for themselves. Everyone wants Ghana to try and do something himself. But yeah. Utenbrooks also said that he was kind of like, he said in an interview that it was really crazy for him to be in that finale with those like strong guys. And this is just kind of like me correcting myself. I said yesterday, maybe it was Vlasov, because I didn't know who it was. But as I was saying this, I was like, it could not have been Vlasov in a group of Primož, Enric Mas, and Jonas. No, it was Ayuso, Jonas, Enric Mas, and a Bora rider. I was like, maybe it was Vlasov. And I was like, it wasn't Vlasov, but I just, just said it was him. But it was actually Utenbroek. So, shout out to him. Of course, like I said, Remco was in, the Belgian championship jersey. We start to see the race with like 100 kilometers to go. It was a pretty long stage. They had like, I feel like 200K to go today. So, on one of the stages when you kind of have to bear through it, we saw Elpison in the front with Jimmy Jansen and Jason Osborne in the front, pulling, kind of doing the work for the team. And also, if I butcher someone's name, it's not because I have to give it like a bit of a disclaimer. Sometimes the Polish commentators kind of mix up names. They say Jonas's name in the funniest way. I'm going to tell you how they say his name. And they say it multiple ways. They say Vingegaard, Vinigo. They say his name in like 5 different ways. So, for example, when you have like a Jimmy Janssens, I'm going to say Jimmy Jansen. But also my brain thinking in English, and I might mess up his name a bit, But sometimes why I say writers' names weirdly is because, I hear the commentators say their names. I do like read articles, watch some things, so I read their names as well. But I do hear their names a lot, and that might kind of, go into my brain. So I'm sorry. I'm just putting out a disclaimer out there. And 88 Ks to go, we see Remco, just having a laugh. He was joking. He was, having some fun, which I love that because these guys are focus for the whole 3 weeks. Nerves. He's in the jersey. He's, going for a race. Everybody's watching him. It's nice to see him kind of, take a chill pill, relax, and have a little chat with the camera, have a little laugh. You always love to see those kind of moments. And with like 60, even maybe more than that, but, with like 60, 70 kilometers to go, we start to see the water, which we, by that point, knew that the wind is going to play a part because, of course, next to the water, there's going to be more wind. It's going to affect teams more. It's going to affect how they ride. But the teams actually weren't really going that hard until like 20 something kilometers to go. By some point, there was a stat that said that the last 20 minutes of riding were like 36 kilometers per hour, which you might say, oh, this is really fast. But, for these guys, it's not as fast. So, they were kind of like chilling. They weren't really going that hard. With like the 50K to go, the GC teams were doing the work in the front, just trying to position their leaders really well. I struggled to see Primož today. I struggled to see him. There was some weird stuff going on when it comes to the positioning of different riders, which of course I know the wind also might have affected it. The team's more chaos. There's more chaos going on. Everyone's nervous. It's windy. It's everything's kind of more difficult to manage, like to organize. But I struggled to see Primož a lot of the times. And I also saw, kind of like the team was struggling to position him, and also Remco, but I'm going to talk about that in a second because I'm just going to mention it. Coming up to the intermediate sprint, the teams, the teams are going a little bit faster. You can see Bahrain Victorious in the front, Bora in the front, Quick Step in the front, Jumbo Visma was in the front, I think, as well. And of course, Alpecin Deceuninck trying to position Caden Groves as well as well as they can. And suddenly, which I wasn't expecting this, honestly, because also another thing about this Vuelta, the realization of this Vuelta, is that, how to say it? Like the camera work or whoever's doing that it's so bad. It's so freaking bad. Today I was complaining so much during today's stage. I hate how they are filming this. Like, I do not like it. The sprint was like, you barely could see the sprint. They showed like the fans. No one knows what's going on. You can barely see the riders. It's just I hate it so much and it's bothering me. But back to what I was saying. Jonas Vingegaard actually kind of goes for it. He went behind, I think, Vanderberg. He kind of went behind him. There was Alpecin trying to do something for Caden Groves, of course. And Caden Groves does win. Vanderberg comes second. And Jonas actually beat a UAE rider to the line. I do not remember who it was. But he actually beat a UAE rider to the line. When I was like joking, how bad of a sprinter do you have to beat? I'm sorry. This is stupid. It's a stupid joke. This is one of the best cyclists in the world. I'm like joking about him sprinting. But his sprinting is, it's not the best. It's not the best. But the guy is not meant for sprints, though. He has the right to be bad at sprinting. He's not meant to be sprinting. He's meant to be cycling fast uphill on steep climbs for a long time, of course. But, it's still kind of funny. But he ends up taking the 2 seconds, which I think now him and Remco only separated by like 3 seconds, which is really like the time gap is kind of like really abruptly. I was so surprised because they're so close now. But probably every single episode, I'm still gonna mention the TT and how I feel like Remco's gonna take time on it. If he's not gonna take time on it, I'm gonna be embarrassed. Maybe I'm not gonna be embarrassed. Like, cycling is a sport when anything can happen. Everyone can have a bad day, except for Remco, because the guy, like, 3 months ago, whenever the Giro was, he had COVID and he still ended up winning a freaking TT. The guy was barely breathing. Some people cannot walk when they have COVID, and the guy won a TT with a second. Of course, it was like, oh my god, Remco's washed. He cannot do anything. Like, he cannot even TT. The guy won it with COVID. Thank you so much, Remco Evenepoel. He's insane. And also, just mentioning Remco, you guys have to remember, the guy has been preparing for TTs a lot, and I still feel like he's performing really well in the mountains for a guy who has been mostly doing work for TTs. Shout out to him. I don't know, but, like, I respect it. I respect the grind. Then you're going to see DSM going to the front, maybe trying to do something. I don't know, but they're really one of those teams that I don't feel like they can control the front as much as, like, an Alpecin can. I feel like they're just kind of lose that control a bit easier than those other teams. So like I said, Caden Groves wins the intermediate, but Jonas does take 2 seconds on GC, which shout out to him. I wasn't expecting him to actually attack. I was kind of surprised. 28 Ks to go. The team's going 29, 30 Ks per hour. They're chilling in the front. Like, they're like, yeah, this is fun. Like, we're just gonna relax. Actually, there was a point in the race when I was looking at Juan Ayuso specifically. I was worried for him because I felt like he was in a weird. UAE kind of did struggle, like, but also, like, a lot of teams did kind of struggle with positioning today a bit. But UAE, I saw Juan Ayuso. I was really worried for him because he went on the roundabouts a few times when he was the rider on the roundabout that was really close to, like, the center of the roundabout, which I feel like is kind of dangerous. I feel like it's really prone to crashes. So I was worried about him. I was looking at him because he was really far back and really close to the center of the roundabouts, which I was kind of, thinking it is not the best. Also, there was a part of the race when 25 Ks to go, Remco's like almost last in the peloton. And I was like, how are they going to move him up right now? The roads were really tight, like no space for anything. And he was like far back. They managed to like kind of gain positions for him. But I was like, how they're going to do it? I don't know how they did it. I kind of lost them, but they managed to move him up. I do not know how they did that. But I was kind of like looking at him. I was like, the guy's almost last. How they're going to move him up? And I was like, right now, 25 Ks to go. If he crashes outside of the 3 kilometer zone, you guys are fucked because it's windy. It's really easy to lose the peloton. It's going to be hard to pull him back. If he crashes also, that sucks because he crashed. Like, he's going to be in pain. He's not going to be happy about it. And you're risking just one of your best riders losing unnecessary time in a weird way. I do not know why he was that far back. Maybe because they were like thinking, yeah, we're going slowly. But I still feel like it was just this weird kind of decision. I was like wondering why. Also, 2 Alpecin riders kind of like in the back. Yeah, like I said, it was really chaotic today. Like, it was just so weird to watch the stage, especially after I woke up from my nap. I like turned the stage. I was like watching. I was like, what is going on? Like, why is like Remco in the back? Why is this like happening? It's so. Why they're going so slow, but then, but at some point they did end up putting the hammer down and they started going, 55, 60, they were going there. Ineos was in the front, of course, keeping the leader safe. But there was actually a part of the race where Geraint was kind of in the front without anyone in front of him. And I was like, I don't like this. He kind of is eating unnecessary wind right now because he was in the front. Luckily, he did end up going behind. I think he was a Jumbo rider. I do not remember exactly. I feel like it was Dylan Barley, but luckily he did do that. The peloton was they weren't really together. They weren't really condensed. Wind, of course, affecting everything, the racing, all that. And a lot of the times we didn't really see anything because they were showing us. I love Spain, shout out Spain, but I do not need to see a 600-year-old castle. Like, please, there, like stop. I really don't care right now. I really don't care. And also, I felt like I was really worried for Sepp Kuss. I thought he's really far back, and like 2 minutes, like literally 2Ks later, he crashed. I was like, I knew it. Why was he so far back? I know he's not your leader, but he's really important for like your team. You don't want him crashing. You don't want anyone crashing. And I thought he was really far back. Jan Tratnik kind of came to the front. He had Jonas with him, but also Primoz was really far back. I could barely see him. He was kind of, he wasn't with his team. It was this weird, like, Jumbo kind of disconnected. One part of the team was on one side and the other part of the team was on the other. It was all weird. Yeah, Ineos was, together. They were pretty condensed. EF came to the front by then. Bahrain came to the front, and then 10Ks to go, like I said. Sepp Kuss crashes. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. My cat is literally meowing right now. And Utebrooks actually crashed. Who also crashed? I don't remember. I think Pierre Latour crashed. I'm not sure if it was him, but some Total Energies rider ended up crashing. Actually, I don't think Utebrooks actually ended up crashing. I feel like he just kind of was next to the crash, but back to what I was saying. FDJ coming to the front as well, protecting Leo Martinez, making sure he has no unnecessary issues, and with that like 8.5K kind of part of the race, Geraint Thomas was in the front, like I said, eating unnecessary wind. I don't know what the hell was that about, but whatever, what can you do? And those like few Ks, I'm sorry, I'm moving my cat around. That's why I'm like being so noisy. Those like after like the 20K part, the peloton definitely sped up because you could see that they were going much, much faster. And they started to go like 40Ks, 50Ks, 55Ks. With the 6K mark, this peloton is kind of separated. Everything is kind of separated. Alpecin has their own kind of lead-out train. Intermarché has their own lead-out train. GC teams kind of move to the back. And then 5.2Ks to go, we have another crash. And unfortunately, Arendsman has a pretty major crash. I was so worried when I saw... What is he doing? When I saw that he fell down so badly that he couldn't get up by himself. Those kind of crashes are the most worrying ones because, like, it's so scary when a rider whose job, basically for a living, he rides bikes. He needs to be fit, healthy. Also, not even, like, in that context. It's so scary for anyone to fall on a bike and have any chance of losing mobility in something or just losing even, it sounds horrible to say, but their life. I was really, really worried for him. I feel like they showed him a bit too much out of respect. For example, I'm also giving a comparison to F1 right now. When there's a crash in F1, which is right now by this point, it's gotten really safe. Like, I know F1 is crazy dangerous, but I feel like there are times when I might sound crazy and people might say, "Oh, this is so stupid." That's not true. Where F1 has gotten pretty really, really safe. They've gotten much safer in the last few years. And when a driver crashes, they do not show his crash. If it was shown on the TV like real time, of course it's gonna be on the TV. But they do not show any sort of post his race, videos until they know he's okay and he's safe. Like, for example, when Guan Yu Zhou crashed, we did not see his crash for like 40 minutes after his crash, out of respect. And there's another thing in cycling which I just don't like, when they show these guys crashing, getting taken away on stretchers, or like just laying there. I hate it. I hate to see that. I cannot imagine being the wife of a writer and seeing like my husband laying there, not being able to move. I don't like it. I don't like how they do that. I always thought it was this weird part of cycling that it's just, I don't like it. That's it. Like, period. I don't like it. And that's like the crash when I think also Bernal, I think, was affected in that crash. And I'm not sure because like I said, Geraint was kind of like on the side of the road, but I'm not sure if he crashed or if he was just there. It was all just, weird to see. Alpecin riders ended up crashing, and the crash itself was caused by an Alpecin rider. I think, I'm not sure though, it was Robert Geese. He kind of, I think, touched the wheel of Caden Groves in front of him, and his fall kind of, created a domino effect. Of course, that's how crashes happen. It's a domino effect. And his crash kind of, created that domino effect. It was just, I hate to see those kind of crashes. And Arisman was affected the most because he just got, like, ran over. Absolutely horrible. Hated that. It was just, 3Ks to go. It's starting to get really hectic. And because of the crashing, and because of the riders being in the back, Alpecin is kind of, they're not as organized as they have been those last two sprint stages. You can even see it. They're kind of like looking at each other. No one's really sure. There's riders missing. The full lead out is not, it's not how it normally would be. So the team probably had to kind of improvise based on what happened. Intermarché was in the front quite a bit as well. I thought they actually looked pretty good, but then they just kind of got absorbed again. The best lead out is the lead out that lasts the longest, and their lead out was good, and then it kind of like disappeared. There was a lead out by EF for Vanderberg, which I thought he actually had a chance of winning. I'm gonna be honest, with like 300 meters to go, I thought he might have a chance to win, but we all know what happened later on. And here's why I think Caden Groves, what cost him the sprint. On the final turn, because I hate that though, the final sprint, the final turn, he loses the wheel of his lead out man, and he's stuck behind another rider. I do not know who the rider is though. I cannot really tell you. He kind of loses the wheel. He has to take back some extra power, waste energy with 300 meters to go, which is like the time you do not want to be wasting any energy on catching up to your lead out person. So he loses the wheel. He's kind of like next to Vanderberg. They almost have like a bit of a tumble next to each other. He also like had to stop pedaling for like a tiny second, which, at this point they're on such gears that any pushing on the bike is going to require a lot of power / energy. So he went into the turn kind of, it was chaotic. Like the rider, his lead out man lost him. He lost his wheel. It was all messy. It wasn't a lead out. It was just everyone's sprint by that point. Like by 200 meters, it could have been literally anyone. Like literally anyone, because none of the teams kind of organized anything that super, like perfected. So I thought it was like anyone's sprint at that point. And definitely, also by some point, Caden Groves got like boxed in. He kind of had to fight his way out of the like box. It sounds so bizarre. He was kind of boxed in between the rider, like I said earlier, that he was stuck behind. That was between him and his lead out man, and boxed in between him and Filippo Ganna. So he kind of had to, find a gap, and then it was just, all of this is like wasting unnecessary energy. You do not want to do that. It's just like really, it's just not the place to do that. And with an pretty early launch, Geoffrey Soup from Total Energies ended up winning the stage. And, those kind of wins are so nice because they're unexpected. You're really excited for the guy. It's his first Grand Tour win, 35 or 34 years of age. You just kind of feel like this is amazing because it's not another Caden Groves win, which, of course, love that for Caden Groves. Happy he is winning. Love that for him. I'm sure he's excited, but you like those surprise winners, those winners that are not as obvious. So I feel like that kind of made up for a little bit of the crashing today, but of course nothing can make up for the health of riders. But I was not as worried and sad. I was worried and sad though. But I was, it kind of made my mood a little bit better when you see a guy who probably may have not gotten any more chances to win any Grand Tour stages, win a stage. So, I was really happy for him. But Messi by Alpecin, Messi by many of the teams, but, Alpecin was kind of, I feel like, caused by the crash, affected by the crashes, affected by the wind. It was all chaotic. Kieran Groves losing the wheel on the turn. You could see that he had to make up unnecessary places where he should have been just, right behind his lead out man. But it was fun though, because you like those kind of sprints. Like, it's open for everybody. Like, it's not just obvious, but with like 400 meters was going to win. It was really fun. I really liked watching it. He did that footage of, I'm just going to mention it again because I feel like it's so disrespectful of seeing a footage of a rider being taken out on a stretcher. That is insane to me. You would never see that in F1. Maybe not. You would see, I don't know actually, when Mick crashed in Jeddah, I do not remember if they actually showed the footage of him. I think they showed the footage after it was known that he was okay. I don't know, it's just, I don't like it. Please stop. And also kind of just, I have a note here. I do not know, because I made a note, but I do not know what I meant in this note. So we're gonna ignore that. And Dinis, I don't know how to say his name. It's an Italian name. Dinis, I don't know. I'm so sorry. They not really, because in Polish commentary, they say Dinesa, which, so I'm just gonna repeat it. Dinesa. He said after the stage, he was like, I feel like sometimes some guys take too many risks. Which, maybe it's hard to tell. Because you just lost. You're probably angry. You're probably like, I fucking could have maybe done something here. But I still, you have to respect a writer's point of view. If he's saying, I feel like maybe some guys take so many risks. Maybe it is true. Maybe it was really chaotic, unnecessary nerves going on in the peloton. Of course, Alpecin was, one of the crashes, the really big ones, was actually, caused, I don't know, no, this fucking sounds so, like, mean, maybe. Maybe, no, I feel like it's a part of racing. I feel like it's, part of the nerves. Everybody wants to win. It's, I'm going to retract on what I said. I feel like it's just a natural thing in cycling. Crashes are going to happen. Maybe you can maybe your team can affect some of it. I feel like, and controversial opinion, I'm going to actually criticize Alpecin, but during the tour, I didn't like how they raced during the tour. I feel like the racing was not, I didn't like the way they did some of the sprinting. I thought it was just, unnecessary risking. Especially what Jasper did with that, I don't remember who it was, but someone, I don't even remember what team it was. Some rider tried to break away, and Jasper was bullying him to not break away. I hated that. I just did not like it. I feel like you as a cyclist should know the most why you should not do that kind of shit. It's so stupid. You're bullying the guy into not sprinting, or not breaking away, sorry. And you're like, what are you going to do? Make him crash? It's so stupid. I know he would not have done that. But what are you even implying with, pushing him off to the side? I still think Jasper Philipsen is the best sprinter in the world. But I hated that. So you kind of have to respect some of the opinions of a rider who says maybe some of the teams are taking it too far. Maybe they're risking too much. I don't know, man. I don't know. Also, another little thing I want to mention is Sepp Kuss, the photo he uploaded on Strava, iconic. He uploaded a "what the fuck is a kilometer" meme with GC Kuss on the freaking Strava ride from stage 6. I love that. That's why I love cyclists so much, because they just never take themselves too seriously, and they're just the funniest people in the world, because they're as close as you can get to being the most like fit, mentally strong. You just think they're guys like robots, and they're just like normal dudes, and I love it, so much. So this is actually pretty much everything that I have to say about today's stage. I feel like, it was one of those that, like I said, I was really worried about the crashing and, all that. Tomorrow we have a bit of climbing to do. I do not know if actually it's going to be GC guys. I feel like they might arrive to the finish together and just fight it out for the sprint win. Like they're going to, be fighting it out on the sprint for the win on the stage. But I feel like they might arrive together. I feel like no one is going to get really, actually, no, I feel like it's too low. I feel like it's actually the climbs are going to be too easy for the GC guys. Maybe like maybe like a pre-mosh. I don't know actually. Maybe like an Enric Mas even. No, I feel like it's too far from the finish for an Enric Mas. But, I'm just looking at this date. I'm looking at the profile. I'm like thinking, yeah, maybe him. Yeah. But that's it for today's stage. I feel like it was one of those when it was just chaos, and you can definitely watch the last 40, 50Ks, not 40, 50Ks. You can actually watch like the last 30 and listen to the pod. Shout out to me for making the pod. And yeah, that's it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed today's podcast. I definitely enjoyed making it. I love making these. They're just such like a way for me to talk about my thoughts, talk about what I think. Also, maybe try and opening myself to learning even more. Because like I said, I've only been watching cycling for like hardcore for like a year. So this is kind of a place for me to learn even more and even make my knowledge even bigger. And I just love to talk about cycling so much. So this podcast is the perfect place for me to rant about my thoughts. So thank you all so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I hope to see you for tomorrow's